We might even see something that might turn us away or, turn us off from the food we're eating. I know that for some of you, you might be thinking, well, these are not realistic. Sometimes I got to eat on the go, or sometimes I have to do a lot of work when I eat. There's just not enough time to sit and relax and to read some foo-foo fairy tale book. Salam and hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're all doing well. I was about to make a video on several supplements and over-the-counter agents that can help in digestion. They can help you with your digestion after you eat, and if you find yourself kind of bloated or full or having a hard time digesting your food in general. But I thought that before I even release that video or make that video, I think there are some things that you can do that cost you nothing in terms of money that can aid with your digestion. Now, some of you are aware of things like, chewing multiple times in between bites, or limiting the amount of water that you're drinking during your meal, or even things like the type of food you want to eat in order of your meal. So for example, eating vegetables first, followed by your proteins, and then ending with your carbs, your simple carbs, if that's what you're eating. But there's something more easy, I think, or more, I should say, there's some things that you can do before implementing any type of over-the-counter agent or supplement, and that is eating with your hands, particularly your right hand, including your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger, these three fingers. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about why I wanted to make this video and why I wanted to talk to you about eating with your fingers or your hand and how it can help in your digestion. So obviously there's going to be a time and a place and a type of meal that you want to eat with your hands. If the occasion doesn't call for you eating with your hands, then you're not going to eat with your hands. So if you're at a formal setting, or if you're out and about with a different group of people who you're not familiar with, or even if you're familiar with, if the occasion doesn't call for you eating with your hands, then you're not going to eat with your hands. Similarly, if the type of food doesn't call for you eating with your hands, then you're not. So if you're eating like a very water-based soup, you're gonna have to use a spoon, right? There's no way about eating soup, a soup that's very liquidy. There's no way you're gonna be able to eat it with your hands or your fingers. So just take that into consideration when I'm talking about eating with your fingers. So I want to talk to you about the basics and an understanding about why eating with your fingers is good for you. So for example, a 2014 article in the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology talked about the connection between mindful eating, mindfulness, and using your fingers or your hands to eat, and how it supports digestion. So there is evidence that supports eating with your fingers, eating with your hands, and how it helps you connect better with your food. You're more mindful of the food you're eating and how you're eating, for example. So eating with your fingers actually helps with engaging your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system. Actually having physical contact with your food activates that system. And when you activate that system, you're more mindful of how your food feels, how you're going to pick it up and eat it, and how you can process that food. So oftentimes you may not even notice that you're eating slower with the food that you're eating with your hands, because it's just not, it takes a little bit of more grace and tact to pick up the food that you're eating. Whether this food is rice or it's a type of semolina that you cook or boil with water and you're eating with a particular stew, or even if it's a sweet potato fry, for example, when you engage in picking up your food, it's a little bit more slower if you've ever noticed it. When you have a spoon, something that can neatly compact your food, you might just be shoveling it in your mouth, and you may not realize that, oh, I've just eaten so much and I'm not even cognizant of how much I've eaten, because you're not really engaged in what you're eating, is what I'm trying to say. Another thing some of you might already be aware of is that many of our ancestors use their hands and their fingers to eat. Eating with their hands is part of tradition for a lot of people, and tradition speaks volumes most of the times, because Eating with hands helps with digestion. Tradition has shown it, and now science is coming up and showing that yes, this is true. So think about how eating helps engage your parasympathetic system, and it helps you with the rest, digest, and being mindful of what you're eating at the same time. Many of us don't realize that our enzymes are optimized when we're eating with our fingers. So for example, salivary enzymes like amylase or lipase are found to be at heightened levels when we're eating with our fingers. And these are enzymes that begin to help us with processing food and breaking down food so that we can use its nutrients, so that we can use the nutrients for our own well-being and benefit. Another thing that helps us with our digestion is gastric acid secretion. Eating slowly and chewing slowly, which is a byproduct of eating with our fingers, helps to increase that gastric acid production from our stomach, which helps to break down food as well. And that's really important, because if we are not using those enzymes within our stomach, that are secreted when we're eating, then we're realizing that we're not digesting food and that we're having a hard time breaking down the food that we need. Additionally, when we are eating with our fingers, we notice that there is an increased or a better sense of gut motility that happens because we are not compounding our stomach or our intestines with so much food. Eating slowly and chewing slowly is again a byproduct of eating with our fingers, and it all is connected. It's all connected from not only our mouth, but it's passage of food through our throats, to our stomachs, and to our intestines, which is really important for salvaging all the nutrients we can from our food. Thus far, I've talked about mindful eating and eating with your hands and how it's helping you with your parasympathetic nervous system and your rest and digest. But something that's also important that you can do free of charge, that is no cost to you, is being mindful of your environment and how you're eating and where you're eating. So for example, many of us multitask. I understand very well that sometimes you might want to get a presentation done, or you might want to do some research, or maybe you're a little bit bored when you eat, if you eat alone, for example. So you might be tempted to sit with your meal in front of you and turn to the side and scroll through your phone or watch TV or research on the computer. I do that too. I am guilty of that. This morning I had my morning meal and I was trying to do some research for some content I wanted to create. So I had my laptop, my plate in front of me, and my laptop to the side. And it was a good meal. It was a healthy meal. It was packed with vitamins and protein and healthy vegetables. But unfortunately, I was too distracted to really be present with the food. And I kid you not, after I ate my meal, I was like, oh, I'm still hungry. Was I hungry? Was I full? The truth of the matter is the meal was good enough in terms of protein and calorie count. But I think my disconnection with the food, because I was distracted with what I was researching, took away from that meal and eating and getting the full benefits. So what I'm trying to say is be mindful of what you're doing while you're eating. So for example, if you are alone and you're saying, well, I'm bored, I just don't want to eat by myself, go outside and eat if the weather is conducive. Sit outside if you can, or sit on your porch or your balcony, your backyard, and eat your meal and just enjoy the sun. Soak up the sun if you're in a warm climate, and try to enjoy it in your food in that sense, so that you can take the time out to kind of slow down your eating. Another thing you need to do is perhaps you don't live in a warm climate. Perhaps it's cold where you are. Okay, well, can you get a calming book to read? Can you get something that is conducive to you being in the state of rest and digest, your parasympathetic? Because oftentimes when we are on our computers or our phones, we are scrolling mindlessly through things that are actually counteracting our parasympathetic nervous system. We actually end up in the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, because we're looking at things that are really not only troubling and disturbing, but they're just taking our mind off of the food. We might even see something that might turn us away or, turn us off from the food we're eating. So that's why it's always important to be very careful of what you're consuming, not only food-wise, but visually, in terms of social media or content or things of that nature, news including the news. So think about reading a calming book if it's a book on nature, a rom-com or something like that, you know, I know that for some of you, you might be thinking, well, these are not realistic. You know, sometimes I got to eat on the go, or sometimes I have to do a lot of work when I eat. There's just not enough time to sit and relax and to read some foo-foo fairy tale book. And I get it and I understand. But when you can implement those things, when you can simply just eat and enjoy the meal, please do that. Don't take it for granted that, you know, you have the ability and the opportunity to eat a good meal and help yourself, help your body process the meal and digest the meal so that you can get the benefits out of that meal through and through. So again, I just wanted to really come on quickly to talk about eating with your fingers and your hands, as well as being mindful of the environment in which you're eating. I know this is it's a broad topic which can have a lot of nuance to it, but I just wanted to start here because, again, I am still going to talk about over-the-counter agents and supplements that you can use to aid in your digestion, barring you have no gastrointestinal or stomach disorders, which I'll also go into. So I hope that what I've talked about today has been beneficial for you. If you have any questions on what I've talked about today, or you want any follow-up, because again, it's a broad topic and we can really dig into the weeds about it, then I want you to leave a comment for me and let me know what else would you like me to research, what else would you like me to talk about with regards to this topic or any other topic, and I'll be happy to do that. So I thank you for watching, and remember, when you are eating something like this donut nectarine, which I've never had before, but I bought it from Trader Joe's and I've decided to give it a try. It's pretty good. So when you're eating something like this, eat it whole, or when you cut it up, don't be so ready to pick at it with your fork. Just take it bit by bit. Finger size the amount that you're cutting up and just enjoy it. Enjoy this blessing that we have and eat it with your fingers slowly. Of course, before you cut it, wash it very well. I like to use baking soda to wash it and then let it dry, cut it up. Make sure you've washed your hands so that you're not transferring any type of bacteria, so that we're being mindful of, you know, just good hand-mouth hygiene. You know what I'm saying? Because we could talk about eating with our hands, but some of us aren't practicing good hand-mouth hygiene or good hand hygiene. So always be precautious of how you're preparing your food, how you're cutting your food, where you're sourcing your food from, and inshallah that will be helpful for you as you try to improve your health and find ways to eat better and do better. So I hope this information has been beneficial for you. I thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.